Hey, I'm Noah. Shh, be quieter. I'm Adam. Yeah, we are again in Hunter College, where we go to school, and we have two books to review that came out yesterday. More number ones, actually, but not part of the new 52.
Miniseries.
Miniseries. We have Penguin, Pride and Prejudice.
Pain and Prejudice.
Whatever. And Huntress.
I would like to see Penguin in Pain and Prejudice. But yes, Huntress and Penguin.
Yes.
Which of these are we talking about first?
Which do you want to talk about first?
Penguin.
Okay. No, wait.
Wrong one.
Penguin. Okay.
Wah, wah.
Those are actually Penguin's first words.
Yes.
As a baby.
Wah, wah, wah.
Spoilers. Penguin's born.
Spoiler alert. The first panel of the first page.
Mm-hmm.
So, who is the Penguin?
Penguin is a Batman villain based off of Dr. Caligari from a German
Expressionist film.
German
Wait a minute.
Expressionist film.
Penguin's based off of Dr. Caligari?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And the Joker is based off The Man Who Laughed.
From
another book.
Based off a book by Victor Hugo.
Yep.
It's great. I did not know that, but, and what sort of a villain is he?
He is a guy who's short and a penguin,
Yes.
but he's also a guy who thinks that he's a rich, aristocratic English gentleman, but he isn't.
Yeah.
He's a fat penguin guy.
It sounds a lot stupider than it actually is.
Squawk!
I don't think he's ever said squawk.
He said wah.
The premise of this book, overall, Penguin, Pain and Prejudice, which I just
broke
dropped.
it.
I did break it.
He broke
most
it.
unfortunately. We follow the Penguin through his early life, well, divided between his early life and his miserable childhood, being a awkward little penguin boy,
Mm-hmm.
and his adulthood being a very highly feared and powerful penguin gangster man.
Super criminal.
I prefer penguin gangster man,
Okay.
because I don't think he's particularly super, he's just very feared, as he says.
Yep.
So we divide our time between seeing his parents hating him as he grows up. I think this is wonderful.
And his childhood friends hating him.
I am going to... I don't even think that we refer to them almost as friends. I think it's just people who hate him.
Everyone hates
I
him.
love this line, "What the hell is this?" And then they just gasp and drop him.
Yep.
Yeah. Or rather, his father. He likes his mommy, though. She's nice to him. And also, he is a very powerful criminal in the underworld, gets people to steal things for him, and looks very sinister. And that's the overall plot. We don't have much of a story going on in this first issue. We're really focusing more, I think, just on background and character. And what do you think of Penguin #1?
It was good. I
Give me
liked
5.
it. Oh.
You've been saying that a lot, but why did you like it?
Well, I always liked the Penguin as a Batman villain because he's funny. But this gets into the darker, more serious aspect of the Penguin. Of course, he was born kind of a mutant, or mutated. He had that freakish nose and hands of his.
A much more realistic take on the concept of mutants.
It's almost like a kind of Frankenstein-y or Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I think the word you're looking for is gothic.
Gothic-y, yes. It's very gothic. Just in art style and writing style. Basically, you have this monster of a man who, instead of trying to become like a good human being, kind of just... I don't know what page I'm showing, but instead of trying to become like a human being, he just kind of becomes more of a monster, and he wants people to fear him, and he embraces his monsterhood instead of his manhood.
It reminds me a bit of a Scarecrow Year 1 type comic that I read a while back. It was from the 90s. I think it was written by Chuck Dixon or someone. And it followed Scarecrow's early life as a kid who everyone bullied, and then as a result of this, he grew up to become the Scarecrow because he wants to scare everyone.
Who bullied him.
Yeah, and just people in general. And it's a very similar story in that respect. Almost the character even seems kind of the same, although I think it actually makes a bit more sense that he grows up to become a much more realistic criminal type person than someone who likes to make chemicals to scare people. I might actually talk a bit more about that book down the line, because there are some interesting things about it. But as far as Penguin, Pain and Prejudice goes, I think it gives us an interesting insight into the Penguin, the character, although I think at the same time it doesn't really create much of a story. There is a plot element of him stealing a necklace from a rich
aristocratic
lady who for some reason, is very bad at not getting her necklace stolen. But it's not focused on very much. It's much more sort of an overview of the Penguin. So I don't think...
Or the history. Like, the whole narration is done in retrospect. He's reminiscing about his terrible childhood.
Except the narration of things that happened in the present.
But that's just him telling people to do things.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he narrates the present so much, or if he just... Yeah, he does narrate.
Well, he says, "I am feared."
Yes. That's the whole thing. Him focusing on being powerful in this way. Now, why? What happened between this early part and this current part of his life? We may be exploring that, but it's not necessarily setting up the story to come. So it's setting up a bit of the character, not really the events that are going to be following. We don't really have much of a sense of conflict. We don't have much of a sense of really the terms of the story at all. It's much more of, I think, just a character introduction. And I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I also think it's a bit... I don't know, it seems a bit self-contained. So if this is going to be a 6-issue miniseries, we'll probably have to wait till the second one to really see what's going to be going on.
Oh, and just something worth mentioning. Guess who shows up at the end?
Let's not mention it. Let's let them guess.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. It's a really big surprise and someone who we have definitely not been seeing in every other comic.
No.
Yeah.
I'm glad they actually included him because I was kind of missing him, you know?
Yeah, you know.
I was like, where is he in this whole DC thing?
I don't think I'd seen him since the last book that I read him in. And do we want to talk visually about how this looks?
Very gothic, very dark, and I mean, it fits the... If you just look at the cover, really, it tells you the whole story. That's the whole style.
Let's take a look at the Iceberg Lounge. This here is the first shot of the present day. There are two different art styles. This one refers to sort of the present day, and then we also have...
Memory art style.
Memory art style.
Which is kind of like a dark fairy tale.
With these freakish hellspawn children. What is that? I don't even know.
That's supposed to be Penguin.
Yeah. That's kind of odd. Baby Penguin seems to have like 3 different models rather than 1, so I'd say he seems off model, but it's more like they can't make up their mind, or the artist can't make up his mind. And what do we think? I think dark fairy tale is an interesting way to put the his childhood. There's no real necessarily set timeline, so we're not sure exactly when this was.
Wait, I just think I found a good comparison. Penguin's childhood is like a Roald Dahl book, but before anything happy happens.
Before anything magical happens.
Yeah.
It's true. Penguin's... So, if this were a Roald Dahl book, like, a giant peach would come and take him away to New York. Wow. That sounds like a really stupid book when I put it like that.
Or he'd win a magic ticket to a factory.
Charlie was an odd because he actually had nice parents.
Yeah.
But, or he would poison his grandmother. Or, but
develop psychic powers.
Yes, like in that classic Roald Dahl novel, Carrie. Anyway, and in the present day we do have, it's very dark, it has these really, still these grotesque people. I'm going to go back to that page just because I think it encapsulates the style. It's got a real sort of flat, two-dimensional, drawn aspect to it. The panel layout, I think, is... We haven't been talking very much about panel layout, but that is kind of important, as I noticed for a certain other book that I was looking at. But it pretty much fluctuates a lot. It doesn't really have a very consistent style. When we look in the past, we tend to have these wide panels that go across the page, sorry. And pretty much everything that's a flashback is told like this. I think in the flashbacks, the way that people are drawn and the way the children are drawn, it can be kind of a little bit difficult to tell who's who and what's going on. But overall, I think as Noah said, the cover pretty much sums it up. Most things don't have this much detail, but it's just very ugly, grotesque, and a little bit derpy in places. And I say a little bit derpy just because we've got...
Are you going to show?
Yeah, I'm going to show.
Yeah.
This little tenso moment.
Dude, get... Yeah.
Just...
Yep.
Derpy expression. So, I don't know, it's a little bit messy in places, it's not the neatest, and also if you look at just expressions of the penguin on this page, a lot of shots of this just the Penguin looking grotesque but making mean, ugly expressions. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the art just pretty much is reflecting Penguin's life, you know, and his experience in the world, what the world is to him. So it's not a take on the Penguin that we get very often. I don't think it's a particularly bad take, but I also think it's a bit lacking in story. Where on a letter scale would you put this?
I'd give it a B.
A B.
A B.
I'd probably give it a B too. Again, I'm interested to see what happens, but the story hasn't really taken off yet. And what else do we have?
Well, as soon as our off-camera friend gives it to me, and we give him, Penguin, Huntress.
Huntress #1, also a miniseries. This is one of 6. Who is Huntress?
Huntress is she part of the Bat family?
Is she part of the Bat family? It's complicated. Because Batman doesn't really like Huntress.
But they do work together. She does.
Well, they're both superheroes who are based out of Gotham.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it. I don't think I wouldn't consider her to be part of the Bat family, but she does sometimes get involved with Batman-related stories. She's another Gotham superhero, so at times they're allied with each other. Interestingly enough, Batman is not in this book, but she carries a crossbow and she shoots people.
Kind of like Green Arrow.
I think the Huntress we're on is she's Italian. I think she was born to like a mafia family who got killed when she was young or something along those lines. Yeah, and then this. This. I was showing him. It's interesting the way that she's drawn. She looks a little bit like the style of the Batwoman book.
Yeah.
The content inside is actually very different and much nicer. You wouldn't necessarily believe you're looking at the same book, but yeah, we could talk about the art in a little while. The premise of this story, do you want to talk about it, or do you mind if I talk about it?
Are you going to say the thing that you said about...
I'm just talking about the premise. Huntress goes to Italy because she finds out that there's going to be some things being shipped to Gotham smuggling, so she's going to investigate at the docks all the way in Italy, because she can do that and get through customs. She actually talks about how she gets through customs, and then she discovers a human trafficking ring that she ends up having to get to the bottom of. And guns. A human trafficking ring and some guns. So, and apparently, like, there's this entire wave of human trafficking out of Europe after the Arab Spring, for some reason. And she's getting on top of it. She's getting the newspapers involved. She's going around beating people up. She hasn't killed anyone, luckily. But, yeah, we get a sense that none of these people are safe from the Huntress.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say the shorter version.
Anything... I was talking just about plot, no commentary or criticism there, just...
No.
What is the short version?
Huntress beats up Italian pimps.
Yeah, Huntress beats up Italian pimps. That's pretty much what's going on. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
You've been saying that about everything. Either I liked it or I didn't like it.
It was good and I liked it.
And then it's either your comment is either, well, I like this person or I don't like this person. Come on, why did you like it?
It's what Catwoman should have been.
I actually agree.
It's kind of the same type of character. You have a feisty, kind of sexy girl who goes out at night to just do shit and fight crime. And,
I think Huntress has a much more sort of...
down-to-earth.
Not down-to-earth. I think she has more of a vengeance-like quality to her. She's not necessarily vengeance-like, but she's very... she's a bit of a grittier character than Catwoman, I would say. But, keep going.
But, like, instead of just focusing on the fact that Huntress does have tits, they actually develop her character. You get a lot of who the Huntress is in this. And she is a cool, like, character. Like, she really cares about, like, the human trafficking, for one thing. It's not like she's doing it just because she knows it's against the law. She genuinely cares about these women who she's rescuing from these human trafficking rings. Like, she'll rescue them, then she'll talk to them and bring them, like, to places that will be safe. So, and it's just like this really strong female character, and like Catwoman wasn't.
Yeah.
Catwoman was just tits and ass, and she had sex with Batman.
Yeah, and she...
I'm a bit sick, and if you didn't notice, I'm sorry if that's affecting
Everyone I
anything at
know,
all.
everyone I know is sick other than me. So clearly, I must be like Typhoid Mary, making everyone else infected.
No, these are allergies.
Yeah, that's what they all say. But
Until they die of AIDS.
or anything else. But I agree with Noah. I think that Huntress comes across very strongly as a character, and I do think the sense that she cares. It's not that she has that she's fighting crime somehow for purely personal reasons. That she actually is invested in these women, and it's interesting because even though they're not really characters, the women who are being trafficked and all that stuff, even though they only appear very briefly, through Huntress we actually do get the sense that they're important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're not just a MacGuffin. And I think that is something very distinctive, especially with this book. And I think it works very well. And overall, I also just, I like the idea that even though it is a superhero book, and even though she is something of a superhero, we're not dealing with all of the inmates breaking out of Arkham, as we have in 2 different Batman books. And it's not like, oh, we're getting some new big villain. It's not even a mystery who's behind it. It's not some sort of, it's much more grounded in reality and fighting much more human, real-world problems. And I'm not saying that I think all books should be like that, but I think
it works for Huntress.
I think it's refreshing, I think it works, and I think it gives us a really good chance to see the character work and to also take a look at something that matters, not that other sorts of crime or more fantastic crime doesn't represent something that matters, but something that's a bit more
grounded?
Yeah, more grounded. So I think it works really well, and also we're launching right into the plot, but the character still carrying it, so I think we've got a very good balance there, and there's a lot of places this can go. So, and visually, do we want to talk about it?
Well,
this is a pretty book.
Very pretty. It's light when it's light, it's dark when it's dark, the figures are all very well proportioned.
Yeah, very well proportioned.
I mean, like, evenly, like, you know, you don't have any gag wrists in this.
Yeah, you don't.
I mean, they're big, but they're not unhuman.
I mean, and then it depends on who we're looking at. I think the fact that it's bright when it's bright and it's dark when it's dark is good. We could see, I think, 2 different action scenes here. We've got one where it's bright and one where it's dark.
And there's a noticeable contrast.
And those are pretty much our 2 colors that we're working with. We've got
lots of purples.
We've got a lot of purple, especially at night.
Mm-hmm.
Even the space in between panels is purple. It's in keeping with our character. And we have a very just pretty, almost vacation-like color scheme for, because she is ostensibly on vacation during this in Italy, for scenes that aren't. We have, would you say this is realistic?
The coloring?
The coloring and also just the drawing.
It's a bit, the drawing, yeah, but I think the color is a bit too pastel, realistic, but it does look vacation-y.
Yeah, it is. It's a more realistic style, but
it's like summer holiday superhero.
It is, but it's interesting how that contrasts with much darker scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, I would say there's like 2 significant action scenes in this. I would say they both work very well. We get a good sense of. There's one thing that I did notice that I have to complain about. I don't think legs can really do that.
Do what?
What?
I can't.
I'll show you when I've taken it away. But she's essentially like made of elastic.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like kind of like ballet, I guess.
I don't think you can stand in front of someone and slightly to the left and then kick them in the right side of their head.
I don't know, but like I think that her fight style is like a cross between Black Canary and maybe Batgirl or something more flexible.
I would
maybe
say
Nightwing.
I would actually say a bit between Black Canary and because she has the crossbow, she reminds me a bit of Green Arrow.
Yeah.
But she doesn't.
But just hand to hand.
She doesn't have a gimmick thing. It's interesting. They did on Justice League Unlimited, the TV show. They actually had a Black Canary versus Huntress episode.
Yeah.
Black Canary and Green Arrow versus Huntress in question. Huntress actually did a spinning bird kick, like Chun-Li. Like, exactly. So, no, but she has a good fighting style, and we do get a lot of hand-to-hand in this, but not overly so. Like, I would say Birds of Prey, for example, had, I think, a lot more.
Yeah.
But what we have works, and again, we have sort of an action-packed first issue, but we're still getting really quickly up to speed on the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And it has heart to it, I think. It's not... There's some comics that I'll read, and they will be very pretty and they will look very good, but they'll also seem just kind of cold. Well, I think there were some that we... well, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I think this is one of those comics that also does, you can get the heart from it despite the prettiness of it. I think Aquaman is another good example of that.
Yeah.
That
With that scene with the lighthouse.
yeah, that you just have like just it's very rich in color. It's very, I'd say, glamorously drawn, but at the same time, you do get like the sense just from the way the characters are drawn that they are real, that you are getting emotion
I guess
from them.
Voodoo is like that.
Yeah, Voodoo is a really cold
Because
comic.
Voodoo is it's well drawn. It's pretty, but it's flat.
Like when you have like even Huntress is like just her little expression over here, like kind of surprise and protection, and that. And I mean, even the way that the girls are drawn, like I could very easily see drawing them in much skimpier clothing, yet they did not take that route for obvious reasons and very successful reasons. And her surprise here, like I mean, just this page I think is good, just to show that type of story element. So I think it works very well.
Yep.
Where on a letter scale would you put this?
I'd give it an A.
I would go between. I was thinking A-, but I can't actually really think of much that I would complain about. I would give it an A too. So I would definitely, if you like Huntress, I would definitely check this out.
If you're looking for like a new superhero that is kind of like a Batman type, like nothing too out there like Superman saving the planet from fire, then Huntress is definitely a good thing to pick up.
Yeah,
and it's a mini-series, so you don't have to feel like you're getting into something too big. Or, yeah.
And then the other good thing about a miniseries is that once it's done, a month later, they're going to probably release a trade paperback.
Yep.
So yeah, I would recommend Huntress.
Yeah, me too.
And I think that is it for this video.
That's it for that. Yeah, we did read more number 2s that came out, but we're not reviewing. We might do like a video at the end, just I don't know, but.
Could I just make my comments on one particular? Actually, I'll do that possibly on a different video.
Okay, but
so
yeah, we're not reviewing the number 2s like we did the number 1s.
And what's our next video?
I want to keep it a surprise.
You want to keep it?
I want to keep it a surprise.
It's going to be up as soon as this one.
Yeah, but it's not a comic book review. So.
It's not a comic book review, but it's something.
Funkier.
It's funky.